This is What's Good YouTube, and welcome to Aaron really starting to grind YouTube. I would love to see him get to 1,000 subscribers, and this is not sponsored at all. This man has been featured on this channel for a while and helped me out a lot whenever I needed to bounce off card reasonings in the past and look through things, and you can go to this video and see how analytical he is and how in-depth his breakdowns are. But whenever I see something like this as well, I see a bunch of cards for the metagame that people are considering, and I go and look up prices, so that would be the relevance to this video. I already had Dark Ruler No More pulled up from a controversy on Twitter with people arguing about how it was dismissed at first, and look at it now after people laughed it off, and it is way up in price for the QCR towards $43. But going through that screen even further, I revisited Crush Card, and here's the ultra rare out of the Kaiba set, which the Kaiba set is getting re-waved, by the way, going up in value. Maybe vendors trying to play multi-level games. I think this is way overinflated, but the OG version is an ultra rare with this art. The other one, relatively ignored for now comparatively. You can get a first ed at $2. So that art isn't as nostalgic here in the TCG, even though it is in the OCG. But a lot of versions of this have been moving regardless. It's just a fresh buyout. Then we have Book of Eclipse on that screen, and it's been going up very consistently through this month, about $5-ish for the most part. And then Super Polymerization check back in was interesting because this was doing nothing but falling out if you actually can get the graph to pull back up. I had it earlier, and we have sales that were going recently around 120, 125, and I remember peeking back in and there were $130 listings, and the Starlight was way under the QCR, and the QCR had taken back the lead. Now they're back to even, and Starlight mixes and matches with a lot more rarities out of the new decks because they come in Starlight rare now once again. So it seems like that may be the preference, at least with the recent buyouts, to where people are even spending $190 a piece. And finally, Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere Mode. The Ghost Rare is nothing but down, but the QCR, which was down towards $9, is bouncing back up towards $14 to $15. It's really good to get to look at somebody's breakdown of the metagame as things are happening. It keeps you in the know, it keeps you more informed, and I think Aaron McInnes, it really reminds me of the start of my channel, but I was, feeding a lot of info from Billy Break and taking it in and then talking to other pros like him. This is a great resource for the community, and I would love you to go subscribe to his channel and see it get to 1,000 or even more. That would be freaking awesome. And look at this man grinding. This is 2, 4, 6 videos in a week. He is really on top of it right now. Let's go ahead and talk about how the metagame is unfolding as well within the market. Vanquished Soul Holly Sue had a huge buyout and has fallen off to under where the buyout started. You can see here it was down towards $28. It rose above 40. Everybody, including me, was freaking out a bit about it, and it's already back down towards 25. That's because these mix and match engines have so much ingenuity in our metagame, and also Yummy seems to be the deck to beat right now, and a lot of players that are innovative or even more casual are heading towards Draco Tail, which is the only thing really rising up in price at this point in Justice Hunters. We see here that there's Cristrons as an option as well with K9, and buyouts are happening. The super rare Scrap Recycler is up in price. So is Infinitrack River Stormer, which isn't a new buyout for the secret rare, but the ultra rare is now almost out of copies on the market, which was the easier access one. I did say to grab it sooner than later, and here it is up even further, almost a $4 ultra rare. And we covered Sulfafnir. I always trip over that one. I don't know why. But Sulfafnir is now going up towards freaking near mint $8 plus. This is like 12, 11, geesh, it's crazy. Unlimited lowest still at 650 with only one copy, and people are buying into it at that $6 to $7 mark instead of 3 to 4. Justice Hunters itself has an interesting layout and a weird problem where is the overall value with how it's spread out? You have the K917 Izuna, just like Holly Sue, starting to fall out and not be the lightning rod for value. It was towards $48 earlier this week, and now it is $40 even all the way across that front page. So it's not able to maintain that because the options are flying around and people are going out and grabbing from the general market instead of necessarily just this set in order to go with it with all the options these decks present. You then also have Draco Tail, like we mentioned, the only upward motion consistently throughout this week, and so many different versions of the cards have gone up. Hornet Drone's still surprisingly low, but that goes back into the conversation of, even though it's max rarity Striker, a lot of people don't have faith in Collector Rare. I honestly think this would be an okay one to buy. Maybe you'll see people go extra for it in the 10s if it's not Starlight there, but that's the fear, right? Oh, if it's not in the 10s as a Starlight, what about the next Starlight kind of rarity collection if there is one, or the next 10s? That kind of thing really keeps people away until there's that natural dry up over time of enough people going for it. And speaking of, Yummy is almost the price of pre-sale ultra rare for the cookie at $22, and Cupsy's in the lead there. So Cupsy is also barely in the lead as a Starlight. If we do see them start to kind of uneven, it looks like Cupsy could end up being the winner along with Snatchy. I've seen so many memes of Snatchy over on Twitter. But over here, Cookie's actually slightly in the lead, barely. They're still pretty lined up as people try to undercut each other, and Snatchy's actually in the rear. So who knows how it really works, right? It's never in Yu-Gi-Oh! History have I seen all the cards in an archetype really just line up like this. It is fascinating, but they're also so far down in value compared to what we're used to with meta decks. And then you have, like we said, mix and match engines. We've talked about Shadol's plenty. They're continuing to go really strong. Shadol Fusion QCR at 30, and then Shadol B Supers continue to be expensive. We just covered Squamata, but the QCR Fusions themselves are also up a good amount. Just Shadol's really going with Draco Tail. However, people are starting to get antsy and expect the Magistus update, and for us to get the new support for it, which is how the OCG actually ended up playing around with the deck Draco Tail and its maximum power form. And Zoroa specifically here is getting bought out pretty hard once again. We've seen that before with speculation, and then it came back down, and here it goes with people saying, it's time, we're going to get that full power deck, Draco Tail's going to get even stronger, this will be the way to play it. And I think you can kind of go the direction you want, but if you are playing for the win, for competitive events, and you're trying to hit up against the other decks with the third best deck out of 3 really good decks, I do think you want to play it as strong as possible most of the time. But let me know your thoughts on the engines and how you're playing that. And like I said, interesting problem for the set, it's coming down in price slowly. It's $68 a box with 3 super strong archetypes. And I've ranted about it enough. You know what's coming. I hate the set model. We need to return to all foil side sets, and this is why. The product, after a dry year for vendors, failing set after failing set that we featured on the channel, we're still looking at a $38 version of the core set when we're talking about Duelist Advance. It's down here under all the cards. There it is. It doesn't have value. Holly Sue was bringing value. Now it's not, and it just continues to flounder. Like, we have L after L for stores sustaining the game, and the first major win is a barely win for stores. It's a huge win for the players, don't get me wrong, and it's a great thing to see accessible cards for players, but this speaks to the amount of supply and demand, and the demand's not there as much for the meta decks. Now, we are in the off season. We could see a lot of these decks go up. We've seen these side sets able to surpass numbers like this before they flop back down, like having Rescue Ace and Purely Defenders. But with Justice Hunters in specific, it is a little bit eyebrow raising to see, oh, they're paying like $58 a box and this is $68. Wait, platform fees, shipping. You're telling me that some of these sellers right here are still losing on this set. Now, in person, I'm sure it's doing better. People are after the cards inside, and, you know, not everybody goes online to buy. They support their locals. I'm seeing a ton of people open those packs for those field centers at full-on retail. It's not as if every single consumer is an online consumer. However, still concerning to see at this point that this big of a winning set is having these kinds of problems overall, and you can't get a win for stores at all in the full circle of this product's a banger. Like, we can point over to Magic, Pokemon, other card games. People are going for Gundam. Isn't League of Legends having its card game? Like, just so many different things are coming for competition with Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is our star set for the meta so far. I should add that asterisk. It's like, what's in here for collectors? What's targeting actual collectors? Sky Striker? Like, you know, and it's not working, even though Max Rarity Striker is like Mermail and it's doing very good. It's not working. So collectors really have left the scene for the most part. I'm selling pieces of my collection, like I've said, and slimming it down to 2 binders. I personally think the writing's on the wall, unless in the next year, again, they fix product and they do something as another gateway for the game. And I don't see that full turnaround happening personally, but this is not a great state in terms of for stores, for that. But for players right now interested in this metagame, it's a relatively big win, and we can also notate that. I think the future of the game, though, for where players are going to play, it's going to continue to slim down if this is success in our game. Thanks for watching today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these conversations, and let me know what you think.